I'm Nick Agafonoff, and today I call myself an insight creator, an evolution from an insight specialist. For this presentation, I'll be talking about the tools and the processes that now exist to iterate research presentations and data into standalone documentaries, cheaply and efficiently. I propose that this possibility represents a new frontier for embedding insights with research audiences. I should tell you first what I am not going to talk about today. This presentation is not about how to use your smartphone to record a research interview, or which video editor to use to create a clip that you can embed into a presentation. We are already beyond that. What this presentation is about is how we now have the tools, technology, and time to synthesize research findings and data into an engaging and impactful documentary film. But first, let me begin by giving you a sketch of who I am and why I am speaking about this topic. I was born in the Philippines, raised in Canberra, and by year 6, I'd already written and performed a play about a social researcher. In the play, the researcher spent his days immersed in the everyday lives of people in Western Sydney. And, yes, this story turned out to be prophetic. In year 7, I wrote my first 2 ethnographic journals. The first about teenage food rituals. The second, a hospital diary following a bout of appendicitis, likely caused by teenage food rituals. Fast forward to 1995, university. I was at the ANU, studying sociology and film theory. That's when I made my first ethnographic film. It was called Fridges and Their People, and it explored different households and their relationship to their fridge. It's a lot more complicated than you might think. In 1999, I moved to Sydney to study a Masters in Media Arts and Production at UTS. That's me in Bougainville, Papua New Guinea, filming my Masters documentary project. In the same breath, I joined Kaleidoscope as a junior qualitative researcher. You can probably guess what happened next. At Kaleidoscope, I started to integrate video ethnography practice into my role as a qualitative researcher. Specifically, I started producing video ethnography outputs for a broad range of commercial clients, which explored people's everyday lived experiences in relation to brands, products, and services. They captured rituals, practices, interactions, behaviours, contextual meanings, and subcultures. One of my first video ethnography projects was exploring, documenting, and editing personal grooming rituals. I instantly developed a real empathy with users. In my role as commercial researcher, I began chunking observational and interview footage into key themes and insights. These videos were embedded into PowerPoint presentations to great effect as both research data and a storytelling device, connecting research audiences with the everyday realities of target markets. And it was a good area for me. I had a skill set that was difficult to reproduce. Commercial researcher, ethnographer, and videographer all in one. Consequently, over the past 25 years, I've worked on myriad of consumer insight and cultural studies as a specialist video ethnographer. And what did clients love about these videos? The real human stories and the contextual insight, generating empathy and challenging stereotypes, provoking ideation, truly human-centered research. But it's fair to say that my skills are no longer particularly special, at least at a technical level. Now, every researcher can film and edit interviews using this, the smartphone. And there are a plethora of apps and tools that help researchers to edit and produce video outputs for insertion into their final presentation. Here are just a few. Further, research respondents are also more capable of self-documentation. Autoethnography with video diaries used to be a difficult task, but now many respondents are comfortable with self-documenting in all sorts of contexts. With more researchers producing video outputs with their reports, what do clients struggle with? Information overload, insight saturation. Our clients wonder, how can we synthesize and distribute this data and insight across our organization in a meaningful way so that it has impact? In amidst my journey as a commercial researcher and ethnographer, I've also made documentary films. Bougainville Sky was my first feature documentary. It was a joy to make, but at the time, it nearly killed me. Documentaries were hard to make. Traditionally, they took lots of time and patience, and the old saying goes, time is money. In the past, to produce a documentary took a team of specialists, from producers, directors and scriptwriters to camera operators, sound engineers, editors and graphic designers. So, for the most part, to fit into market research budgets and timelines, I've focused on making shorter insight videos that I can make by myself. But now my story is changing. This year, I premiered 2 independent documentaries in my local community. One about a struggling regional museum in Lithgow, New South Wales, run by volunteers and fighting for its survival without support from government. And the other about a not-for-profit organisation that is taking on the loneliness epidemic by creating shared reading groups. And I've also started to make more refined documentaries as part of market and social research deliverables, even communicating quantitative results and analysis. Like this one that I recently made for a lawn care packaging study. And I'm not using any sophisticated post-production suite here, just what's already available in Canva as basic tools for creating charts. And that's because technology has made everything so much more accessible. Following a couple of basic rules, all of us in this room can record quality interviews and footage with our smartphone. In fact, those 2 films I made this year, half of the footage was filmed on my phone. And for research, it also means that we can collaborate with respondents to record things we might not have been able to record in the past. Did you know that we can even edit via transcript now? Here is a really popular app called Descript. Content creators love it. It has features like Underlord, enabling automated AI editing with prompts. It can generate scripts for short and long format videos. It can provide layouts and customizable formats for visual impact. Some other really useful tools are an eye contact cheat, sound optimization, and the ability to instantly edit out all the ums and ahs from an interview. And it's all supported by education videos and tutorials, so anyone can do it. You don't need to be a filmmaker, you don't need to be an expert. But when it comes to media, what else has changed? There has been an audience shift in terms of the type of content that people are consuming. The demand for non-fiction, factual storytelling and documentaries is increasing dramatically. According to a report from Parrot Analytics early last year, there is a growing demand for documentaries across all platforms, This doesn't surprise me, and I'll explain why. In 2012, I conducted a deep dive study for Google into the role of YouTube in people's everyday lives. It was obvious then where we were heading. A post-literate society where people learn from visual and auditory demonstration by a relatable person in an authentic context trying to solve a real-world problem, whether physical, social, cultural, political, spiritual. You get the idea. The rise of how-to videos. 3 years after this study, the Joe Rogan Experience became one of the most popular YouTube podcasts in the world. Most users of YouTube had already decided that they didn't want to learn from experts or institutions anymore. They wanted to learn from someone more like them, who spoke and acted in a way that felt collaborative, rather than didactic or dogmatic. But, more recently, something else has started to happen on YouTube. There is a new genre emerging, and, you guessed it, it's documentaries. I love this channel by Johnny Harris. It's really high impact, both visually and storytelling. He uses these great infographics that bring to life all kinds of data. What Johnny is doing here is using the documentary genre to comprehensively make the case, rather than simply rely on appealing to authority or expert knowledge. Audiences appreciate the work that goes into forming, evidencing, and creatively illustrating the argument, even if they might disagree with him. The popularity of the documentary genre on YouTube is growing. More people are making them at an increasing rate. This is my YouTube channel, Authentic. I didn't need to get a broadcast deal to distribute my film about a Lithgow museum. It's already received 37,000 views, more than many documentaries get on SBS. In the comments, you can see that it connected strongly with an invested community. That's a lot of engagement for a niche story by an anonymous filmmaker. The other problem documentaries are solving is the complexity problem. As consumers of information, we are inundated from all directions. This brings ambiguity and uncertainty, and, in some cases, paralysis of decision making. The advantage of a documentary as a communication device is that it synthesizes data into an engaging, evidence-based narrative that is still authentic and real at its core. Or, as ChatGPT says, documentaries communicate in a way that resonates emotionally, educates, and makes complex or difficult topics accessible. And here is the clincher. Late last year, knee-deep in interviews and archival material, I was struggling to tell the story of the Lithgow Small Arms Factory Museum. It was too complex a story. I had too many interviews and too many perspectives. That's when, like millions of people before me, I relented and I consulted ChatGPT. I started a conversation with ChatGPT about my conundrum. Before I had even shared about the interviews I had done, or the archival material that I'd collected, or even a one-page synopsis, the AI started to build me a structure. Its ability to create the story arc and recommend a coherent and engaging format was truly mind-blowing. And not to mention, time-saving. I elaborated more on what the film was about and shared a one-page synopsis. It was like I was briefing a supplier. ChatGPT proceeded to provide, within seconds I might add, an entire documentary script that was utterly suitable and applicable, including voiceover narration, recommended visual cutaways, music style, titles, etc. There were even quotes that, word for word, could have been lifted from my interview footage. In an instant, I had a clear pathway forward to create the documentary. First, I copied and pasted the voiceover narration from ChatGPT and into Murph, an AI voice generation tool. Next, I created a project in Murph. It was also easy. Next, I selected my preferred voice, a guy called Shane. With a little bit of tweaking, the voiceover was done. I just needed to download it. This was huge. Now I was confident to create the documentary because I had the scaffold. I edited the half-hour film. Incredibly, it took me just a few days. Not long after, True Grit premiered at the museum in Lithgow to several sellout audiences. That's me with my son Peter, who featured in the film as a museum historical tour guide. It was just a great thing to do for the community. But then I realised, why couldn't we do this in commercial research too? And of course we should, and we have. What I am proposing is not to replace the research report, or the PowerPoint presentation, or even the 30 insight videos that I produce in an ethnographic research study, like this one I recently did for Castrol. It's to bring the executive summary to life as an engaging documentary film, which synthesizes the research into a communication tool to engage research audiences in a way that other forms of storytelling simply can't. Where do you start? Start with the research report. Then, engage an AI. ChatGPT, Grok, DeepSeek, they are all pretty amazing. Share the report with the AI and ask it to create a documentary script to bring the research to life. Specify the time limit, the contents, and anything else you need articulated in the script. Choose your instructions carefully. Then, once you have the script, you have a clear set of instructions to creating the film. It's now about content creation. Use AI to do the voiceover narration and record special comments on your smartphone. You can even clone your voice and create an avatar. Use tools like Canva to provide additional visual engagement, audio tracks, and infographics. You literally don't have to go anywhere near a professional edit suite to create your documentary. You can do all this yourself, or you can outsource to someone else who is handy at content creation. But they don't need to be a documentary filmmaker or specialist video editor. The result is a self-contained, standalone, executive documentary, an engaging and persuasive storytelling format that frames the research problem, outlines the investigative approach, and guides you through the key findings and insights, which you can share across organizations and diverse research audiences for maximum impact. The simple truth is this: it is now easier to collect data than ever before, quantitative, qualitative, and ethnographic. But it is also now faster and cheaper to craft that data into a compelling standalone documentary, as long as we think about data and insight as content. And if we choose to think about data and insight as content, then we are now insight creators, not simply research consultants and specialists.